So, good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. So, our topic is all about identify instructional materials which have the essential elements of language learning and appropriate for the learner's level and skills. A broad range of instructional materials for children can be used to support learning in mother tongue. They may include real objects that can demonstrate concept in the curriculum, picture cards to facilitate classroom discussion and other activities. So there are 6 types of Quran. So first is the speech. When we say speech, the mechanical aspect of communication is the physical ability to produce the sounds, words, or phrases. Speech is, there is really one purpose of the speech. A speaker must wish to engage his or her audience with a central idea or proposition. Second, language is the understanding of concept and the way sound patterns, words, and phrases relate to one another to carry meaning and information. Language, a system of conventional spoken, manual, or written symbol. Language delay. The child's language develop may be immature but following a normal pattern. When a child has difficulties in using spoken language, these difficulties are unusual for child's age. Language disorder. Development is atypical or sufficiently delayed to suggest that there may be an underlying pathological or neurological cause. Language disorder is a communication disorder can affect kids. Children with language disorder have trouble understanding and speaking language. They may struggle with written language. Semantic means the meaning of words and phrases. Semantic refers to an understanding and opposite use of meaning in a single words, phrases, sentences, or even longer units. Pragmatic means knowing what to say when it should be said and how to say it. Pragmatic refers to the way in which children use language within social situation. Big books. What is big books? Big books contain reading materials printed in bigger book format for children's use. These are usually narratives which are quite appealing for children because of big illustrations which could entice them to involve in the print and later in reading. Why we use big books? The size of big books and words in big books are exciting for children. Big books are a fun way to motivate children to want to read and to create an exciting way for them to experience books. The size of the pictures help children to focus attention and follow the story as they learning to listen. That should we use big books. So it is important to use big books for children kay importante man sa ila kay para makuha nila kung kanang exciting kay sila mo basa kay tungod dagko kaayo ang mga pictures then narrate nila og tarong ang story. Why big books is important? Big book is important because it helps students to gain individual reading skills. Second is help students to improve comprehension skills. Third, help students to learn proper punctuation and pronunciation. Materials used and discussed during the activity can be easily reused. So, ang ganong importante kay ang big book sa mga estudyante kay tungod makatabang siya makagain og individual reading skills and maka-improve po siya comprehension sa mga estudyante o labi na sa pag proper punctuation and pronunciation sa mga bata, especially magbasa sila. So matarong nila og pronounce ang ilang ginabasa so that big books is important to kids. Big books are useful in early childhood classroom because big books are rich source of activities that promote reading and meet curriculum activities, including activating prior knowledge, modeling and thinking process, tracking print, encouraging prediction skills, and providing varied linguistic and creative activities. So, ang big books is useful po siya sa mga early childhood because big books are rich of sources activities. So, ang big books kay rich siya sa mga sources ng activities that can promote meet curriculum objectives. Maka-activate siya prior knowledge, modeling thinking, then tracking print, then maka-provide po siya linguistic and creative activities sa mga estudyante. What is the use of big books in the classroom? So, unsa day gamit sa big books sa sulod sa classroom? A big book is a tool to be used in the teaching process to facilitate effective learning. It helps the children to get actively involved in discussing their perception about the story or the concept. So, ang gamit daw sa big book sa sulod sa classroom is konsya ka ng tool to be used in teaching process para maka-facilitate siya effective learning. Kanang makatabang po siya sa mga estudyante nga involved sa discussion or perception about the story na ilang ginabasa. The benefits of big books. Stories suitable for shared book reading have impact and excitement. A good plot. Interesting pictures that support the text. Rhyme, rhythm, and repetition. There are many advantages to using shared book reading. Builds a community of a reader, promotes reading strategies, increases awareness of concept of print, builds sight vocabulary, develops fluency, increases comprehension, and expand children's vocabulary. So, ang mga benefits sa big books, kaya mo ka na, impact and excitement. So, makaingon jud ka nga, excitement ang pagbasa sa big books. Kay tungod, gina-narrate nimo ang ilang story then, maka-excite siya, kaya naman makita man nila ang mga pictures. Then, a good plot, then, interesting picture. Wala akong gingon nga, maka-interest siya sa mga bata, kaya naman, dagko ang mga pictures sa big books. Modal reading, the read aloud. This event using big books is where a teacher allowed selection to children. The following are the benefits of modal reading. Provides a modal reading fluency with expression. Develops story comprehension. Then enriches concepts and vocabulary development. Provide opportunity to hear sophisticated story syntax. Encourages prediction. Then fosters enthusiasm for reading. So, ang modal reading is this event using big books kung asa ang teacher ginabasa og kusog ang story. Kaya nga naman, ang following benefits sa modal reading is provides a modal reading fluency with expression. Sa dihang mubasa kag big books, dapat na-jud kay expression para maantig ang mga puso sa may mga estudyante kay. Sa dihang mubasa ka nga walay expression na wa jud lami. So dapat mubasa ka nga naay expression para ma-express mo nila nga hala ingon ani di ang magbasa. So develop story comprehension, makapadevelop sa imong story sa imong comprehension sa imong mind. Then enriches concepts and vocabulary development. Then provide opportunity para makadungog sila. Guided reading. The teacher selects appropriate text for small group of children who are similar in strengths and needs to provide instructions that target specific reading strategies following are useful of guided reading. When we say guided reading, mo promote siya students of use of a variety reading strategies. Makadevelop po siya og comprehension, same siya sa model reading. Encourage independent reading, then maka-strengthen thinking skills, then allows teachers to work with individual groups of children on specific reading skills. Builds sight word vocabulary, then independent reading. So ang model reading o guided reading is same lang siya. Na siya develops comprehension, ang nakalilang sila strength thinking skills. So muna siya. So that's all for today's my report. Thank you and God bless.
Good day, my name is Jasper John Escagape and this is my report. Small books. Another proven effective material for enhancing language literacy is the use of small books. Stories in big books can be utilized and produced in a reduced version. The smaller size usually measuring 6 by 6 inches. When to use small books. Small books can also be used in guided reading. It is a small group instructional mode that allows the teacher to select appropriate text for a small group of children of similar strength and needs to provide instructions to the target specific reading strategies. Here is a sample format for a guided reading lesson using a small book. Number 1, Story Introduction. Read the title of the author and illustrator's name. Talk about the cover illustrations. Number 2, Story Walk/Picture Walk. Assesses children's prior knowledge or you can ask questions. Cover text if desired and have children predict the storyline through the pictures. Highlights and glory concepts. Explain unusual language or language patterns. Model and call attention to appropriate reading strategies. Number 3. First reading of the story. Teacher model reading. The teacher only holds a copy of the small book. Model the language patterns and concept about print. Model the awareness and use of reading strategies. The teacher may now distribute copies of small books and allow the children to read silently. Ask focused question. Guide children silently read a selection. Discuss the meaning of text and invite children to read aloud to confirm answers. Number 4. Second reading. Each child has a copy of the small book. You may do any of the following. Have children read aloud simultaneously. Have children read quietly but simultaneously. Ask children to read short stories silently. Prompt and praise children's reading strategy, use and awareness of concept of print. Discuss the story. Talk about the literary elements. Talk about ideas and feelings about the story to connect it to children's lives. Retell the story. Talk about concept of print, vocabulary, and language structure. Highlights sight words. Discuss literary elements. Number 5. Independent practice or follow-up activities. Have children read independently or in pairs. Have children read chorally. Ask the children to respond in writing. Have children participate in one or more follow-up activities. The purpose of guided reading is to encourage reading, and the focus is on mastery of reading strategies and elements of literature.
Hey everyone, I'm Carlos Chan Kanangig, and for this morning, I'll be the one who report the alphabet chart. So, alphabet chart shows of a big letter and small letter followed by a representative image beginning with that letter. The name of the image is printed below it. It meant to enhance the following literacy skill, letter recognition, alphabet knowledge, letter order, phonological skill, and picture identification. Diba usually is makita natin yung alphabet chart sa mga classroom sa mga kindergarten or nursery, and each alphabet chart shows of a big letter and small letter followed by representative image beginning with that letter. So each alphabet letter has image, and gituyo na siya butang is para makabalo ang mga bata or learners usay example sa each letter and saan pag-pronounce the words, and also is para makarecognize sila sa each example of alphabet. So for example is letter A, o sa example sa letter A, apple, like nanakot. So as you can see on the screen, that is the one of example of alphabet chart. And alphabet chart is important to the learners because through this the learner know how letter and words are pronounced. And usually diba is during sa tong kinder days or elementary days is that kinapamemorize na tag A, B, C, D up to Z para makabalot ta o sa pag-pronounce sa words o para makabalot ta o sa example ana nga word. And like for example sa letter B, bat. And also if ever ang teacher is mapadula og flashcard like ABCD na flashcard, so kabalo na ka unsa to siya nga word or makarecognize na ka unsay sa to na siya na word para makabalo ka unsang pag-pronounce sa word, and kabalo pud ka unsay example ato nga word. So kining alphabet chart is so very kanang understandable na good.
Good day again, everyone. I am Joanna Marie V. Canceran. The next instructional material that I will be going to discuss with you is the alphabet primer. As a teachers, we want to help our students become fluent readers. We want them to understand that reading is a meaningful process. We want them to understand that the symbols on a page are associated with a certain sound, that the sound go together to form words and the words go together to communicate meaning. Before we introduce a certain word, we must first introduce the letter sound of each letter. The best way to help students understand that printed texts have meaning is to read stories to and with the language they know best. In other words, students may learn how to read by constant reading stories and can comprehend more if the text they read is the same with their use language or their mother tongue. Another one is to provide them with a variety of short, easy-to-read stories in their first language about people, places, activities that are familiar to them, and to encourage them to write their own stories. Even before they can form all the symbols correctly, and then encourage them to read their stories to their classmates. This three helps students become a good reader with comprehension. The best way to help new readers learn to read accurately is to teach them the sound that are associated with each symbol or letter of their alphabet so they can put the symbols together to form words and then put the words together to form a sentence. This means that beginners in reading must start with letter sound after familiarizing it. Learn to connect to form a word. An adjunct of the alphabet chart is the alphabet primer and its function as described on top. To teach basic literacy concept and eventually beginning reading in mother tongue, an alphabet primer can be the instructional material that best fits the need. Learning the basic is the best way in beginning reading. An alphabet primer may not be in a chart form, but in a booklet form. It is sometimes called as Sound of a Language Book. Why do we need the Sound of a Language Book? The Sound of Language Book introduce students to the sound associated with the symbols used to write in their language. As a beginner reader, Sound of Language Book is a very useful because it teaches the students how to produce a correct sound in each letter. Sound of a Language Book provides an accessible general instruction to phonetics. It also teaches students how to put the sounds together to read the words and sentence on a printed page. Each lesson in the Sound of Our Language Book has the following parts. For us to understand further the parts of the Sound Language Book, here is some example of an alphabet primer page used in accuracy track for teaching beginning reading with the letter U in Hiligaynon. First is the K symbol, followed by a K picture, and then the K word uhong. Next step is to syllabicate the word uhong, which is uhong. This one is a big box with syllables or symbols from the K words plus other syllables that can be formed to make a sentence, making words like uma, ulan, utan. Out of this word, we can make a simple sentence like may uhong sa uma, nag-ulan sa uma. This is the example of an alphabet primer.
Hi guys, my name is Rehani Bukua and I am assigned to report the E and F. The E is the picture file and the F is the activity cards. So let's proceed to my topic. E picture file. A good picture or photograph can be reused as a prompt for oral discussion. It can be pictures of basic concepts that need to be learned or locally familiar. Seems like markets, searches, mountains, events, etc. These resources initial references and resources on vocabulary of language 1 learner. It builds on their prior knowledge and ensure the context by which he or she can learn best. For example, whatever report it might be, just like for example, akong topic kay all about parts of the body, so mag-discuss ko sa ilaha about sa parts of the body instead na i-imagine lang sa akong student, akong ginadiscuss sa ilaha, mag-provide ko og pictures para mas makasabot sila sa akong ginadiscuss. So mao to ang example sa picture file. F. Activity cards. Instructional games can be played with these cards that may support development of the following competencies. The first one is speaking skills as learners respond to questions elicited from the photos. The second one is critical thinking skills as they do the sorting, matching, and associating related themes to the visual images. The third one is multi-sensory awareness can be strengthened as more senses react to the visual stimulus presented by the teacher and manipulated by the learners. Likewise, emergent readers need as many strategies as possible in order to determine meaning in the material they read. Flashing cards during drill for identification may be a good household for the skill development. Oftentimes, emergent readers will look at the picture in a story, read the words, but fail to make the connection between the two parts while struggling for comprehension. For example, magpakita kog activity cards or flashcards sa akong students. While ginapakita na ko sa ilaha ang flashcard, i-ask na ko sila what are their ideas about the picture o kung unsa ang naa sa ilang hunahuna pagkakita nila sa flashcard. Another example is, pwede sila mag-matching. Kuntahay, magpakita kog picture sa isda tapos maghatag kog choices sa akong students. Then, mag-ingon ko sa ilaha na, okay class, I want you guys to choose where they belong, sa land ba or sa water. So, mao tang example sa activity cards.
Hello everyone, I am Shela Marie Blanco and my report is called Chart Stories and Via Lia. Chart Stories. These are charts with pictures and stories that are usually used to develop listening skills, oral skills, and fluency among young learners. They aim to develop fluency in learners when they repeat experiences culled from prior knowledge which are stimulated by pictures in chart, just like this. These pictures files must represent community knowledge and cultural practices that learners should be made aware of. Just like big book chart stories can be used in shared reading activity. Also, they can be used for impromptu question and answer activity after shared reading by the teacher. It can be made out of A3 size paper or half a Manila paper and clipped together on the top side from other short stories so that it will be easy to flip over. And this is an example of chart stories in Hiligaynon. Realia. These are real objectives that can be used in the lesson. These instructional materials take out learning from the four walls of classroom and expose the learners to multisensory learning in a borderless setting where culture and pure knowledge of language is the essence. For example, why show a picture of Gomamela when you can bring the cause to the garden and point to them the parts of this flower using mother tongue as medium of instruction? You can even ask them to point to the parts of their body and name them. For language arts, you can play I spy with my eye something that begins with the letter blank, and your students can always give the name of objective in their first language. And that's all. Thank you.